Today I'm making super fluffy, tender, and chewy donut twists, or twisted donuts, coated in cinnamon and sugar. This is gonna be good. So let's go over the ingredients. Here I have 2 cups of all-purpose flour. I'm also working with 1 cup of sweet rice flour. You can just use 3 cups of all-purpose flour, but the rice flour does help to add that chewiness. Here I have 2.5 tablespoons of sugar, 1 teaspoon of salt, and I'm also going to be adding 3 tablespoons of unsalted butter, and this is softened butter, 1 room temperature large egg. I'm also working with 3/4 of a cup of warm whole milk and 1 package of rapid rise instant yeast. Okay, so let's get started. In a large bowl, I'm going to add my dry ingredients. Here I have the all-purpose flour. I'm also going to add that cup of rice flour. And what I'm going to do is just combine that well first. Here I'm going to add my teaspoon of salt to one side, and I'm kind of going to mix it to one side and kind of bury it. And then my sugar on the other side, and again just kind of give it a quick mix. And now I'm going to add that package of rapid rise yeast, and this is around 2¼ teaspoons of instant yeast. So if you have like the jar, that's the measurement. Now I'm going to take my egg and crack it into the milk and give that a good mix. Here I have my unsalted butter, and I'm going to just sort of mash it and incorporate it into the dry mix here in the bowl. And I'll do the best I can to quickly combine. Now I'm going to add my wet ingredients. That's the milk and the egg. And with the chopsticks, or you can use a wooden mixing spoon or a Dutch whisk, I think. I used to have one, my kids played with it, and it's lost somewhere in the house. But I'm going to just give this a really good mix. Here, to make my life easier, I'm going to add a kitchen towel to the bottom of the bowl so it doesn't slide around. And just keep it in the bowl, mix it, and combine it until a dough ball forms. So this is where I want it. Now I'm going to lightly flour my work surface, and I'm going to knead my dough ball. And I'm going to do this for about 10 to 15 minutes. I kind of want it to come together, to spring back, and to be smooth on the surface. If you're doing this in a stand mixer, just attach the dough hook while you're mixing all the ingredients and let it go on a medium speed until it comes together and it's sort of smooth. It's going to take about 5 minutes on medium speed. So I've kneaded the dough for about 15 minutes. It's going back into the bowl. And you can oil the bowl that you're working with, just a light coating. And I'm going to cover this loosely with a tea cloth and place this in my oven. The oven is cold and turned off, just with the oven light on, and I'm going to let this proof and double in size. It should take like 1.5 hours to 2 hours. This took 2 hours. It just depends on the temperature and environment you are working in. So I'm going to take this over to my work surface, and I'm going to take it out of the bowl. First, I'm just sort of going to punch down the air in this dough. It's kind of like my favorite part. It's so pillowy. And I'm going to put this onto my work surface. I'm not even going to dust it with flour. I will be sure to put the ingredient list with the measurements in the description below. So I'm just going to flatten this out, and I'm going to shape it into like a rectangular square shape just with my hands. I'm not going to use a rolling pin, and I'm just going to press it out. And with a pizza cutter, I'm going to cut this into 12 strips. Actually, I'm going to end up with about 12 to 13 donut twists. So here's the secret to twisting the donut twist. You roll it out into a snake, and then you move your hands in opposite directions. So when you're rolling it, move it in opposite directions on each end, and then you'll want to just twist it. And because you rolled it in 2 different directions, it kind of twists in on itself. And you want to make sure you pinch the end so it stays together. And that's the secret trick. It's really not a secret. That's actually the way you should do it, is to get the twist to twist when you're making these donuts. Here I've placed all of my twisted donuts or donut twists on a baking sheet lined with parchment paper, and now it's time to let this proof once again. I'm going to make sure I space them out, and I'm going to cover again with the tea cloth, and I'm going to let them go for 20 minutes, and after 20 minutes I'm going to uncover them and flip them over. It just allows for a more even proof so that it kind of puffs all around and it's not flat on the bottom and just puffy on top. Honestly, I kind of forgot one time about my dough and I didn't turn them and it was fine. But you know, for thumbnail purposes or if you're trying to impress people at home, give it a flip after about 20 minutes. So I have flipped them all around. I'm going to recover them with this tea cloth. And I'm going to place them back into the oven. By the way, it's turned off. I just have the oven light on. And I'm going to let this proof for another 20 minutes. Really, or until it's double in size. This is going to take 40 minutes in my kitchen. It might be less time in yours. I'm going to make the coating, and here I have a cup of sugar. This is just regular granulated sugar. I'm going to add a tiny pinch, well, maybe a little bigger pinch of salt. I'll say that's optional. I think it just adds this like extra flavor. Here I have ground cinnamon. I'm going to eyeball this, but maybe to a cup of sugar you can start with a half teaspoon of ground cinnamon. It really is up to you. And just combine everything well. And I typically just eyeball this part. You could also do a glaze. I have several glazed donuts that I've done in the past. I'll link something below. I even recently did easy donuts made out of canned biscuit dough, and the glaze for those is wonderful. I'll link that recipe video below so you can check it out. I'm going to start preheating my cooking oil, so I'm just going to fill up a small pan / pot with like a ½ inch or maybe a little bit over a ½ inch of cooking oil, and I'm just going to preheat that until it starts to bubble and fry around this wooden chopstick, or you can bring it up to 350 degrees Fahrenheit. So the dough has proofed for a second time, so it's ready to fry these. I'm going to take this out of my oven, and I'm going to get these ready to go into my fry oil that's already preheated. So I'm going to uncover these, and they have definitely proofed. It smells wonderful. I love a good yeast dough, and you can see this one kind of came undone, so I'm just going to gently pinch the edge of this, or the end. I don't want to deflate any of the air bubbles in there, so you got to work with this dough carefully when you go to put it into your fry oil. So in order to ensure that it's cooked on the inside, let it go for somewhere between 3 to 4 minutes in the fry oil. Once they're done, I'm going to place them on this baking sheet with a rack. That'll help any residual oil run off. So it's starting to get a light golden brown color. I do want this a deep golden brown color, and you can see how it puffs up, and that's fine. Now, if your fry oil is too hot and it gets dark within the first minute of fry time, lower the heat. So this is exactly the color I'm looking for, and these are ready. So I'm going to remove them and place them on this baking sheet with a wire rack. And then I'm just going to repeat the process for all of my twists. All of my dough is fried, and look at how beautiful they came out. So now it's time to coat them in that cinnamon and sugar. And all I'm going to do is just give them a light dredge, and they're done. They're coated. These are still warm. Now, if you go into the cinnamon and sugar while they are still super hot, I find that the sugar gets too wet and it clumps up and it kind of falls off. So you want these to cool and just be slightly lukewarm when you coat them. And also, you could shake this in a bag. It really is up to you how you want to do this. And like I stated earlier, you can also glaze these. I do that as well. Here I have all of my donuts ready, or my twisted donuts, or donut twists, and I want to show you how pillowy and soft they are. I'm going to tear right into one. It's so wonderful. You got to try it. So I hope you give this recipe a try. What? I hope you like it. Yeah. And thanks for watching. Get it. This one.